On this day in history, 1854, Henry David Thoreau Walden recounted his experiment in solitary life on the shores of Massachusetts' Walden Pond. Was published. Ah, the bachelor life. Sometimes I'll be walking out of the store thinking, does this 50-pound bag of cat food make me look single? Live from Wattpad Nation, you're watching The Corner Booth. Welcome, and we hope that you're going to enjoy our 21st episode. It's actually really good to be back. I know that if you've been watching these episodes, you know, as they come out, last week in northern Michigan, there was a huge thunderstorm, and it kind of, you know, knocked out the entire city. Or it's not really a city, it's a township. But it's really, really great to be back. Lindsay Lippincott did a fantastic job at subbing in, so thank you so much, Lindsay, for everything that you always do for the Corner Booth. It's really, really incredible. We do have some people that are participating on the live thread right now, so welcome, welcome, welcome. We have our panel that are playing on it as well, and we hope that, you know, as this broadcast progresses, that you ask us questions. If you have any thoughts, comments, concerns, anytime during the broadcast, don't be afraid to voice them because we love talking to you. And you can also use our hashtag, which is TCBWatt on Twitter. You can do that anytime during the week, or, you know, if you want to live tweet during the broadcast. Any panelist that you see here is on Twitter, so if you'd like to ask them a question directly, you can do that. Perfectly okay, and we'll get those on the air. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to this amazing panel, and I hope you're really excited because we have a very special guest. Her name is Darlie Jameson. She goes by @Monrosie on Wattpad, and we are so excited to have her. We also have, stepping back in, Kelly Ann Blount, who is the queen of something called the Wattpad Block Party, and Miss Rita Kovac, who is really, really going to blow your mind, I hope, because I saw a tweet earlier this week that said you are going to incorporate something from Twilight, and I don't know, I'm just really interested to see how that goes. So we are going to go over to something we call the high five, because what do you do when you see your friends? Give them a high five. And this week we have something hopefully that is a little challenging. It sounds weird at first, but most of the things that I do are. Tell us about your favorite television show. You may not use proper nouns. After reading them aloud, the rest of the panel will guess the name of the show. You have a 3-sentence limit. Let's go. I'm going to start with you, Miss Kelly Ann Blount. You are on mute, Kelly. See, we have these shortcuts, and apparently they're not good.
I'm back. Sorry, I muted myself.
You're good.
Okay, here we are. Okay, here's my my clues. One of my favorite television shows features fairy tales from a very famous set of brothers. There are great special effects, and the action always keeps you on the edge of your seat. And the last clue I'll give you is this: the main character's name rhymes with chick.
Ooh, I think I know it, but I'm going to give the rest of the panel a little time to think about it. Hopefully you guys are thinking about this too. If you know the answer, you can either tweet at us using our hashtag TCBWatt, or you can put it in our little live chat. Darlie, Rita, do you have an idea what it is?
You know, I don't watch television, so this is really going to be hard for me. But I want to say I think it's something with Grimm, but I don't know what it would be.
That's it!
Yeah! All right, that's a great television show. I love it. Miss Rita Kovac, what do you got for us?
Okay, so my favorite TV show is about a group of survivors in a southern state who must work together to stay alive as they search for a way to stop a virus from turning them into the undead. This show is so popular that there will be a prequel spin-off premiering in 2 weeks with a different cast, which I'm not totally sold on yet because the characters in the original really make the show for me. And because I haven't yet seen the latest season of this show, please don't reveal any spoilers about who gets turned or eaten.
Kelly, Darlie?
The Walking Dead.
Yeah, that's gotta be it. All right, Darlie.
Okay, well, this is like showing up to the prom with the same dress as someone else. This television show is based on a comic book series. Most of the characters are dead, but hungry, and the survivors are forced to adapt to a new and dangerous world.
See, I told you we're going to have something that is the same. Great minds, though. Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's okay. It just means that it's that good of a show, you know? Okay, so I hope that you're enjoying that. I just got a call or an email from Ashlyn McCowan, who she was going to come in late for the broadcast, but it turns out that somebody didn't show up to work, and now she has to close her store. So unfortunately, we're going to tonight, but that's okay because we do have 3 amazing panelists, and they are going to take us over to the portion of the broadcast called Cream or Sugar, which is an amazing portion because it puts you, Wattpad Nation, in the spotlight and highlights these incredible works that you're posting on this site and sharing them and just, you know, making sure that your story is being told. And this panel, they pick up those stories and they get wowed. And I'm going to start in the same kind of order. Who do you have for Cream or Sugar?
Did you say me? Sorry, you cut out. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, did I cut it out?
Okay, yeah, I'm here. I'm ready. Okay, so my shout-out
Sorry,
this
folks.
week...
A little bit of technical issues.
Oh. Okay, so my shout-out this week goes out to Wattpad user Farah. I hope I'm saying this right. Farah Umar Boy for her complete novel, The Last of the Fire Drakes. It's up for a Wattie Award, so don't forget to vote for her if you check it out and you like it. I'll give you just a little bit of the synopsis as well as a quote that I think really kind of sums it up well that the author has, and it's that 16-year-old Aurora Darlington is an orphan, mistreated by her adopted family and bullied at school. She dreams of running away and being free, but when she's kidnapped and dragged through a portal into a magical world, suddenly her old life doesn't seem so bad. So I won't read a whole lot more of it, but as Farah says, it's a fantastic adventure story that transports you to a dazzling world of myth and magic, and I couldn't agree more. So if you're a fan of fantasy, I definitely recommend checking this out and adding this novel to your library on Wattpad.
Thank you, Kelly. Miss Rita, what do you got for us?
Well, this week I have a cream recommendation for a book that has already done well on Wattpad but deserves even more recognition. Skipping Time by Tamara D.W. is a paranormal romance that at first has a very contemporary young adult feel. The author develops the friendship between the shy heroine Casey and the mysterious and deceptive bad boy Jess slowly, but the journey is well worth it. By the time the 2 main characters fall into a parallel world located in another time, you can't help but root for them.
Great. Awesome. We really hope that you are checking out these stories because if this panel is wowed by it, you're probably going to be wowed by it too. Miss Darley.
Okay. Well, ironically, I chose Farah as well.
No way!
I know, right? But I am prepared for a second shout out. But I do want to say that The Last of the Fire Drakes has been published and is being released worldwide next week on August 15th. So congratulations, Farah.
Yay!
So I guess my other shout out will be I'm choosing Cream, and this goes to a young Wattpadder by the name of Katie Spector. I met her shortly after I opened up my Wattpad account, and we clicked. She read my story, I read her story, and I'm not a really big fantasy reader in real life, but on Wattpad I tend to read a lot of fantasy. But Katie won a 2014 Wattie Award for her story called Seize the Day, which is about a 17-year-old girl named Lanny Brackenbury who is learning to adjust to life after the unexpected death of her mother. She begins to tutor a young prince named Titus and finds herself hobnobbing, reluctantly so, in a world filled with snotty royals and unpredictable magic. When Lanny discovers that someone is out to destroy the royal family, she does everything in her power to uncover the truth, but ends up uncovering more than she bargained for, which puts her life and the life of her new friends in danger. Lanny is such a likable character. She's sarcastic and awkward and has a quick tongue, and she finds herself in more than one uncomfortable situation. And it was just a pleasure to read. And Katie, the author, is currently uploading its sequel called Chains of Fates.
Awesome. Thank you so much. While we're going through the rest of this broadcast, there is a little bit of a lag that I'm understanding. It could be on my end, and I apologize for it, but we're going to just try to trudge on through this and give you the best possible broadcast we can. We'll see how that goes. But, like I said, with the corner booth, it's kind of a trial and error thing a lot of the time where we're trying new things here and there, and we hope that at the end of it, you're at least getting a few solid takeaways. That's really the aim of this, and it either helps you in the writing process, or maybe you're currently just, you have an idea and you don't know how to get it on paper, and hopefully these are helping you do it. So this week we are talking about something called My Own Worst Enemy, and this is tied to something called the Watty Awards, and it's because when you enter this amazing contest called the Watties, a lot of the times you're going to be second-guessing yourself from the start, and that's kind of terrible in a way, especially when you have something that's a platform like the Watties, where if you actually take the cake, you can just reach millions and millions of people with your story. And the Watties itself, it's a celebration of amazing writing that's on this free open source that anybody can interact with, anybody can vote for, anybody can really, really do what they love about, Wattpad. Whether you want to talk with the writer themselves or if you want to converse with other people on threads, this is what it's all about. So, that being said, we are going over to the portion of the broadcast called the entree. I hope I'm not skipping too badly, ladies. If I am, just, you can send me a message and say, nah, you're not doing this right. So, anyways, question number 1. Share your methods of silencing that nagging inner critic, the one who tells you the plot is paper thin, the characters are unbelievable, the voice is muddled. How do you boost your confidence? And I want to start with Miss Darley.
Oh, no. Okay. I was telling them earlier that this is an ironic episode for me to be on because I really battle with my inner critic. She reminds me of the drunk girl at a party who is really obnoxious and loud, and she doesn't want to leave even after the party has left. So, it's...
And Darley's not speaking from experience either. She's never been that drunk girl.
No, not at all, not at all. She loves to tell me how bad I'm doing, and I always listen because I have not figured out how to shut her up yet. But I am getting better at cutting her off mid-sentence. When I first came to Wattpad, I knew that I would be judged because we all are. But especially as a new writer who had never tried creative writing before, I'd always wanted to try, but life gets in the way, and it never happened until I found Wattpad. But I had no idea that I would become my own worst enemy. I still have a hard time calling myself a writer because I still think of myself as a reader. So when my inner critic starts to nag at me, which she does all the time, I just try to shut her out and focus on my successes and stay away from my failures or my fears, because once you start thinking about them, they have a way of clinging on to you and dragging you down. So that's what I try to do. I try to shut her up, and I try to focus on what I've done that I'm proud of, and stay away from what I've done that I'm embarrassed to admit. But it's a struggle, and I think it always will be. I think it is for everyone, not just me. I think even the greats, must struggle too.
Absolutely. The inner critic, it's kind of like that one guy who's driving that white Econoline van with no windows and just like, what's up, Candy? Yeah, stay away from that creepy dude. Seriously. Miss Kelly, what do you got for us?
Okay. So, honestly, when I have doubts, what I really like to do is I like to go to one of my works on Wattpad and read the awesome comments from my lovely fans and supporters, and it's honestly an instant mood booster. I mean, it's like 0 to 50. I'm like, oh, they like me and they like my stories. It's okay. And if I am having problems with like a specific skill, like if I think my world building is lacking, I'll go to Google and I'll find some really good writing websites and I'll do some research and I'll try and learn ways to make it better, because really throwing yourself a pity party and just, wallowing, it just, I don't know, it doesn't work. It just makes things worse. So I recommend being proactive about it. And also, no one's perfect, so do the best you can and tell your inner critic to take a long hike off a short bridge.
Yes, every writer should be slightly homicidal in thought process. That's a work of great plotting. Nobody's perfect except for Miss Rita Kovacs. What do you have for us, Rita?
Okay, first, can I just say that whatever Darlie is doing must be really working to curb her self-doubts, because, remember, she's the winner of the Kensington Books publishing contract for Strawberry Wine, so, I don't know, someone who does that has self-doubts, then, what are we going to do? But anyway, so finding time and energy to write are usually bigger obstacles for me personally than self-doubt, but I did recently do something that exacerbated my inner critic. Yeah, so you see, my next work in progress, which is a new adult magical realism that combines fairy tale retellings, has me so excited that I actually posted the summary on Wattpad recently, and this wouldn't really be a problem in itself, but the reception has already been so good that now I think the reader expectations are so high that I'm kind of freaking myself out over getting the story just right, like before I even wrote anything. So now I do have a go-to method for silencing this inner critic, but please don't judge me for it. And this is what Nat was alluding to earlier, because whenever I feel like my words aren't meeting my own expectations, I pop in my DVD of Twilight. And I am in no way ragging on Stephanie Meyer, because the last thing writers should do is hate on each other. But you have to admit that the writing itself isn't really award-winning material, but that's the whole point of watching it. So even though the story is sometimes cliche, the dialogue is simple, and the grammar of the book is often cringeworthy, Twilight had an amazing reader reception. And, we can't argue with that. People from teens to adults love the book because it had that something special, it's something indescribable that just grabbed them. And it just shows that so much more goes into a successful story than just the words. We pour our hearts and souls into these stories sometimes that we just can't get hung up on our own writing insecurities because of that. So that's what I do. I just watch Twilight.
If it works for Rita, just try it. Like, Rita knows what she's doing. She's written some story.
Oh no!
Uh-oh.
Nat is stuck.
Are
we gonna have to take over, ladies?
I think so.
Is this our cue?
Please let us know.
There you go.
Oh, is he back?
Am I still skipping?
Yeah.
Just let me know if I'm skipping.
You're skipping.
Okay, you're back.
Do something on the fly real quick as far as resetting back. That was talking, so hang on, give me 1 second. Can you just give me a wave and say, hi, I'm Kelly.
Hi. I'm Kelly.
Okay, all right, okay, so you got it. All right, so like I said, we're moving on to question number 2. On Wattpad, several writers search for a writing group which will ultimately build them up when they're down, celebrate with them when they succeed, and keep them accountable when they begin to slip in progress. Are you a part of such a writing group? If so, what does yours do for you? If not, why? And let's start with Miss Rita.
Okay, so I've heard the benefits of critique partners extolled in many forums, and one of these days I'm going to get myself organized enough to try them, but until then I've actually found Wattpad to be a great alternative. You know, I mean, we have hundreds, thousands of beta readers, which we get feedback from, but I actually have a second account, which I use only for private beta readers, where I invite a select group of writers who I know and trust in order to solicit feedback on my work in progress. There's also a super secret group of Wattpadders I'm part of through Facebook that gives moral support and advice, or just a place for us to vent about anything. And I think, you know, having just someone who's like-minded there to listen to you, I think that's also great. It doesn't always have to be about editing and story and plot. It can just be, you know, someone who knows what you're going through. And finally, I occasionally do writing sprints through Twitter, and 1 or 2 people usually join in, and I think this is also very helpful. So it's also just a different type of group to help you maybe get through that slump of just finishing that chapter or even that page. And so this is a good way to kind of write in a group remotely just to get more words down. So those are the things that I do.
Thank you, Miss Rita. Kelly, what do you got for us?
Okay, so as many of you know, I'm the host of the Wattpad Block Party events, and each of the authors involved in these events are invited to a secret Facebook group. And in that group, we discuss everything from the logistics of the event to the pros and cons of self-publishing. So it's really cool to see more experienced authors and writers interacting with some of the newer writers in the group and some of the younger writers. It's really cool to see like a mentoring process just kind of happening naturally. So that's really cool. And I'm really thrilled at the amount of support that everybody offers one another. And so it's a great place to feel safe and to ask questions and get honest answers. And then also, I've been a part of critique group in the past, and it was a really wonderful experience. I actually started writing my debut novel, Grishma, and I joined this group, and there were 4 of us total, and every 2 weeks we exchanged 20 pages of our manuscript. So we had to critique one another's work, look for grammar, and honestly, when I started, I didn't even know how to like set up the format like of a story. I was such a newbie, it was ridiculous. So they really took my hand and helped me through it, and they're an amazing group of ladies. So I'm super thankful for them, and I think it is a really great idea to, you know, go out and find a critique group or find a group of people on Wattpad and you know, really share your experiences and your questions and things you know, maybe feel insecure about, and talk to them. I think it's a really, really positive thing.
When you're talking with your critique group, is there a certain rubric that you're using or something that you always will touch base on, or is it just kind of, hey, I read your story and this is what I think?
So what we do is we turn on the edit feature on Microsoft, and what we would do is we would literally leave inline comments and fix, you know, commas that were wrong and add commas that were missing, and you know, we might highlight and say you have used the word shiny 7 times in this paragraph, pick a new word, and then at the end we'd leave like a paragraph of general just comments and feedback for that chapter.
That's really great. So objective and subjective. That's great. Miss Darley.
Okay. I am very fortunate enough to belong to an amazing Wattpad writing group called the Wattpad Class of 2014. There are 12 of us in total, and I couldn't have asked to meet a nicer or more enthusiastic group of supporters. We're all there for each other to celebrate our successes and our milestones, and that friendship has carried over into our personal lives, and we talk to each other outside of Wattpad, and it's just a close-knit group of friends with writing in common, and that has been very, very uplifting to belong to a part of a group like that. And I've also found support through Kelly's Wattpad Block Party group, and I have some friends outside of the Wattpad Class of 2014 who I met like right after joining Wattpad that I still talk to, and we PM a lot, and that they also help. They critique, they just support, just general support. And I think as a writer, or really anyone, doing anything creative, you need that behind you, because like the episode is called, we're all our own worst enemies, and it can be crippling to what we do to ourselves. So I think it's important to have a group of people behind you, all with the same common goal, and that are always going to be there for you.
Yeah, I mean, you always want somebody to lean on, which is great. But when you're talking about your specific group, is there ever a point where they will ask you, hey, what were you thinking when you wrote this? Or when, like, let's say maybe the content's dropping a little, they might say, hey, what's wrong? Does it ever get that personal?
I've not had that experience. Well, when you're asking for feedback, I think that they are honest with their feedback, but they're also very nice about it, and they help you figure out how to make it better. But I've not had anyone question what I've done in the past. So I mean, I hope they do if I'm really screwing up somewhere. But so far it's been really positive. It's been a very positive experience.
Well, that's great. I mean,
yes.
Those are the experiences you want to have, the positive ones, right?
Yes.
Miss Rita, you got a question from Lucy Rhodes, and I wanted to kind of read it. I don't know if you have answered it yet, but it's something that I really like to address. And with the Waddies coming up, there are these things, and also NaNoWriMo during the month of November, which NaNoWriMo is shorthand for National Novel Writing Month. It's a challenge to write 50,000 words in 30 days, and a lot of people do it. It's a lot of work trying to push yourself to nearly 2,000 words a day. But that being said, there are these things that are attached to both of them. It's called writing sprints. And Lucy Rhodes goes on to say, writing sprints sound really great. How do you get involved in those? And Rita, if you can explain what a writing sprint first is, and then how you get involved in the ones that you partake in.
Sure. I mean, a writing sprint is really what its name describes. It's you set a certain number of minutes. It can be anything. It can be 10. It can be 20, 30. It can be 45. And then you just start writing. No interruptions, no thinking. You just get the words down. And, in order to kind of have that group motivation, you can try to join one that someone else is doing, and you can just go on Twitter and search for the hashtag writing sprint. You may want to combine it with the #amwriting hashtag as well. And you may actually find someone who's doing it in 5 minutes and just join in and kind of have that in the back of your mind of, oh, I have to do this because I'm not only doing it for myself, I'm kind of doing it with other people too. So you're motivating each other. And then when you're done, you can just kind of brag about, oh, I got 500 words or 382 or whatever. And then it's just a great way to just write and kind of have that group support to go along with it as well.
Absolutely. And so a lot of people, I mean, they've been talking about this on the live chat as well. Some people, they're actually scared of Twitter. I mean, they've been on Facebook and they've been on Wattpad, which are both, I mean, don't get me wrong, Wattpad is a social network platform, people. But they are, for some reason, Twitter phobes. And it might be because there's a 140-character limit. It might be because they don't really understand the platform itself. But once you actually kind of immerse yourself in what it is, I suggest using an application. If you're using a PC or a Mac, it's called TweetDeck, and it really kind of itemizes things, and it makes it a little bit easier of a utility to access, and especially for these hashtags that people are talking about. Tomorrow evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Wattpad 4 gets together. They use a hashtag called Wattpad, the number 4, and they talk all about writing. And if you think about hashtags as a key to get into a chat room, because anybody who uses that little key, you're in it with everybody, and it's really cool to see other people who are, either maybe a state away or clear across the other side of the planet, and you're conversing with, people in real time and talking about things that you're, in this case, writing. But I don't want people to think that, oh man, Twitter, it's evil or something like that. And Rita, I know that a few people that have been on the corner booth, they maybe it was Sarah or Brittany or somebody that was saying initially that they weren't really all about Twitter. And then the more that they started using it, the more they got comfortable with it. I don't know if the three of you ladies have similar experiences with that, as far as, you know, you used to not use it and now you do, or maybe you have always done it and maybe you can explain why.
I think you just have to kind of.
Rita, I'm sorry.
No, I think you just kind of have to be like, yeah, find your comfort zone and just use it in a way that makes sense for you. I mean, there's all these features. I actually just recently found or kind of learned what the lists do, what they're good for. So I made a list of all the people that I follow who are from Wattpad, who I know from Wattpad, and I called it my Wattpad peeps. And a lot of you are on it, and if you're not, you will be. And when I click on that list, all I see is just your activity, and it's not related to a hashtag. It's anything that you tweet, but it's just people that are part of that list. So it's another way of filtering kind of activity, and I find out about a lot of stuff that's going on, with stories that you're working on, or things that people are publishing that they wouldn't necessarily, or I wouldn't necessarily know, like what hashtag they're assigning it. So that's a good way to kind of filter, 100. I think there's 144 people on that list right now out of like the 1,900 that I follow overall, a lot of who are just in the general writing world. So, that's just one feature that I think is pretty cool that I just found out about.
Absolutely. Kelly, is there anything that you specifically use as far as Twitter goes? I know that you did this huge thing for the Wattpad block party using something called Rafflecopter, which is a big component of that. But is there anything specifically that you use Twitter-wise?
I love Twitter. I think it's a great way to do really quick interactions with other writers, with fans, with like the most famous authors out there. Remember the first time Harlan Coben, I think, favorited or retweeted something of mine, and I like almost, I like it definitely had like a happy dance in the middle of work, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm famous because no. So I think it's a really cool way to reach out to people that you wouldn't meet otherwise, and definitely to maintain what's going on in the world with your friends. And it's a great way to promote events like Nat was saying with the Wattpad block party. I did this huge over 100 different giveaways that I had set up through Rafflecopter, and so by tweeting it and sharing it on Wattpad and sharing it on Facebook, it got way more, I would say, coverage than if I just would have shared it on one social media network. And you can find other tools, and some of them are expensive and some of them are not so bad, and some are free, that you can kind of manage your social media accounts, because it definitely can be a little overwhelming trying to keep up with Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and Wattpad and all that, especially if you have like a 9-to-5 as well. So definitely think about simplifying and combining them together if you're worried about time. And I love Twitter. Oh, I've got a really cool Twitter fact for y'all. So
No, I mean, it's really great the way that you said it. It's just kind of like a very fast, simple thought bubble that you're kind of putting out into the world, and slightly more ephemeral than Facebook. I mean, usually people really contemplate what they're posting, or I don't know, some people don't. But I mean, with Twitter, you can kind of get lost in a feed if you're not using a list, and I think a lot of people, they kind of stray away from it because it is a little chaotic at first. But if you're kind of scared about using Twitter in the first place, talk to people like Kelly and Rita and people that are on the corner booth, and ask them why or how they're using this really, really incredible utility, because it does a lot. There's hashtag #amwriting. That is a big one that a lot of people use. Ricky Pine was talking about a hashtag called One Line Wednesday. And into that, and it's a really, really great way to connect with other writers that you wouldn't have otherwise, just like Kelly was saying. Darlie, is there something specific that you use Twitter for, or do you use Twitter at all?
Before Wattpad, I had a Twitter account and I never used it, and I was very intimidated by it. I didn't know how to use it, and I had friends on there, but nobody was ever really doing anything. So I was definitely more into Facebook, and still am for my personal life. But since I started Wattpad, I opened up a Twitter account because everybody's there, and just tried, still, fumbling my way around and trying to learn how it works. And I'm very much a newbie, and I probably could be utilizing it more so than I am, but I'm still learning. But I find that with Wattpad, I'm using Twitter way more than Facebook. And then with my personal life, I use Facebook, and I actually just deleted my personal Twitter account. So, but yeah, I know she's over there. I think I'm, I don't know. I hate to say too old to hang out on Twitter. My friends, we go to we go to Facebook. I mean, that's where we started out. So I guess old habits die hard. But with writing, I definitely prefer Twitter to Facebook.
I mean, maybe it's just because there's like a certain separation in between the two. For some people, Facebook's very personal because you can put a lot of your personal life on there. And I'm all about meeting new people, but sometimes it's just you think, wow, somebody can learn a lot about me if just through my personal Facebook page, and sometimes that can be a little creepy. But yeah, no, I totally get it. With Wattpad, a big focus that I think a lot of people lose is the fact that there are all of these ways to connect using other social media platforms, and it might be you're confused, like with some people they get confused with Twitter and how it actually works and what they can do to really take advantage of that certain platform. And then there are other people who get really creative with things like Instagram, and they make these amazing pieces of art that are either what are the excerpts that you can highlight in the actual app and then kind of kick them over to there on Instagram, and you can actually have quote art, and it actually looks really, really cool. Things, I know a lot of people use Pinterest, and that's primarily, I believe, from what I've seen, it helps a lot with scenery and setting and figuring out, okay, this is what my character looks like, or this is how he or she dresses, or this is going to be what I'm going to use as the murder weapon, and things like that. But a big one that I don't know if a lot of people really utilize are the forums on Wattpad, and especially with all of these things coming up, be it NaNoWriMo or if you're entered in the Waddies, there are so many people that are talking about these big, hot issues. And the best way sometimes to figure out, hey, how does this all work as far as Wattpad is concerned, you might want to just stay on Wattpad and kind of look through those forums. Some of them have like restrictions as far as who can talk, but everybody can read them. So whether it is a forum that is for women who are over the age of 35 or one that is all about teenagers, more often than not, they're still worth reading. And of course, you kind of have to look at the subject line. Some of them it's just like, hey, what's up? Who wants to party? And then some of them actually have legitimate thread lines, like plotting, how to do it, where you should be at on day 15, or where you should be for this if you want to make sure that your book gets into the Waddies, that you hit the deadlines and things like that. So make sure that you are taking full advantage of these amazing social networks that are either on Wattpad itself or tangent to it, and they have ways of connecting your profile to them. Now we are going to go over to the portion of the broadcast that is called Pass the Salt, and it's a way of adding a little extra flavor to these episodes and 140 characters or less. And I'm going to start with you, Miss Rita.
Okay, thanks, Nat. So my Pass the Salt today is, you can be your own worst critic as long as you remember to also be your own biggest fan.
Aww.
Very appropriate.
I like that. Rita's words are like a big warm blanket. Teddy bear words. Kelly, what do you got?
All right, so I have a quote from Doris Lessing, and it says, "There are no laws for the novel. There never have been, nor can there ever be." So if you're about being your worst critic, guess what? You don't have to be, because there's no rules. Like, you don't have to follow any rules. It's okay. I mean, you do have to follow some rules, but...
Yeah, of course. There's always exceptions, right? Miss Darley, what do you have for us?
Okay, my Pass the Salt applies to writing and to everything, really. It's respect is earned, honesty is appreciated, trust is gained, and loyalty is returned.
Hmm.
Very cool.
Yeah, I don't know how this is Darlie's first episode. That was crazy cool. Like, way to go.
Thank you.
Well, if I know that some people that use our hashtag Watt, and they'll use that author's pass the salt. But please, I know that a lot of people that are on Twitter and use our hashtag. If you like these, tweet them out. I guarantee you these panelists will love you to death. Wow, we're kind of nearing the end of this, but when we get to this little tail end, it's kind of a summation of everything that we've done on this episode. I do want to give Miss Kelly Ann Blount the floor about, and I want her to talk about everything that she has done painstakingly well with this thing called the Wattpad Block Party that took place all last month. And just, Kelly, if you can tell us a little bit about what the experience was like, and are we going to have another one? How can you be a part of it? Are the authors that have been participating in this last one, have you had like really good feedback? Have people told you to go do something terrible to yourself? I don't know. Like, give us a little story about the Wattpad Block Party.
Okay, so as most of you know, I'm the host of the Wattpad Block Party. It's my little brainchild moment, and basically it's a really cool way for authors on Wattpad and writers on Wattpad to interact with their fans and with new readers and other writers and authors. And we have everyone from fairly new authors to Wattpad superstars like Do Not Microwave. And you know what? It's just such an amazing event to see really huge authors and writers on Wattpad interact with their fans for their featured day. And if you don't know, on their featured day, authors share a post, which I post in the Wattpad Block Party novel. And so for that day, their fans can ask them questions and, interact with them, tell them how much they love them. And during that day, the authors will interact, as well as, some other days they'll still check in during the entire month, but they'll interact with their fans. And, sometimes fans don't have that opportunity. Some of these writers have upwards of I want to say someone had 314,000 followers. So, just logistically speaking, she might not be able to write you back every single time you write her, in a message or a comment. And so it's really cool to see authors just taking a minute to really appreciate their fans and everything, that they do for them, support and votes and comments and everything. So it's really cool. I definitely will be hosting another one. I'm thinking this will probably be a 2-time-a-year event. So the next one is scheduled for February 2016, and anyone is welcome to join as a reader. And this time I also have created a sign-up, which is in the Wattpad Block Party Summer Edition novel. It's in the last 2 chapters, the link is. And basically just type in the link, it'll take you to a Google form where you can fill out information, including your Wattpad username, the link that'll take me to your Wattpad page. It'll also ask a question why you want to be in the event. I'll ask if you've been in the event before, if you've been a featured author in a Wattpad Block Party, or if this would be your first time. And I also do have some questions in there, like have you ever won a Wattie Award? How many followers do you have? How many people do you follow? None of that is a requirement. You don't have to have won a Wattie Award to join. You don't have to have 10,000 plus followers to be, featured. It's just a way to help me kind of organize and keep track of data. And really what worked super well for me this year is just pairing someone who's really well known with maybe someone who's more up and coming. And of course that didn't work. Some days I had superstars after superstars after superstars, but it's a really cool way to kind of give recognition out there to new writers and new users on Wattpad. And I definitely am interested too in sharing with, I want to say, more like bloggers and just readers as well, because I've had a lot of authors and writers featured, but definitely if you're a cover designer, or if you have some other cool thing like a blog that you host on Wattpad or out on a different website, sign up, because I'd love to have you be a part. But definitely one of the most important things to me is that if you're someone on Wattpad who loves Wattpad, super important, but also that you take time to, you know, communicate with your fans, and, you know, that you just have a really great positive attitude. So everyone's welcome. Definitely check it out. The sign-up form is in the Wattpad Block Party Summer Edition. I think there's a whole chapter devoted to it, as well as the link is in the last chapter, which is the biggest fan giveaway winner, which was super exciting. We had 3 that were really close. We ended up having Cheer Time. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna forget her full handle. I'm gonna bring it up. Hold on. So Cheer Time won, and April Danfields was a runner-up, as well as, sorry guys, I'm bringing it up right now. April Danfields was a runner-up, as well as Tulsi 107, and then the winner's full Wattpad handle was cheer_time01. And what was really cool is they wrote why they were Wattpad's biggest fans. And I tell you what, some of the responses definitely made me tear up a little bit. They were so sweet, and I think it kind of goes, you know, really well with this episode, being that, you know, you might be your own worst critic. However, you know, there's all these wonderful people out there that might be feeling the exact same way, and we're all a really big, great community on Wattpad, and we're all there for each other. So don't hesitate to reach out to others, and just, you know, express if you're having a bad day. And just seeing the responses, people stating why they loved Wattpad and the authors on Wattpad so much, it was really sweet and really heartwarming. So definitely look out for that contest next time as well. And the winner, as well as the 2 runners-up, are going to get some really cool mail from some of the featured authors in the Wattpad Block Party, and emails, and some of them have won story critiques as well. So it's a really cool contest, and I hope you all sign up for it next time. That's it. Unless anybody has any questions, if anybody wants to tweet me quick, I'm at Kellyanne Blount on Twitter, KELLYANNEBLOUNT, or just with the hashtag TCBWatt, or in the episode comments, let me know if you have any questions, and I can answer them really quick about the event. One person had asked a little while ago, when will I make the announcement of when people will be selected? It'll be over the next few months. We already have well over 100 people that have signed up. So there will be a limit. I don't know what yet. I don't know how many people will be allowed in, but I definitely will have the sign-ups open throughout this month, next month, and probably October as well. I think that's it. I don't see any questions. Brittany said apply for the block party. It's awesome. Yay.
Nat, are you there?
Oh my god.
Is he frozen?
I was like, ooh, still going.
He's watching intently. Well, you did a great job, Kelly. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, it was awesome.
If anybody has any questions, hit me up now or afterward, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
And we did get a question from Aimee on Twitter. So while we're waiting for Nat to join us, do you guys, how about trying to answer this, okay? So it's, when you give advice or belong to a reading group, what do you focus on most when critiquing? Is it spelling and grammar or content? So, Darlie, do you want to start?
Oh gosh, I guess it depends on how well I know the Wattpadder. If I know them well, and I am familiar with what kind of feedback they like to hear, I would probably go a little deeper into my critique. But if I don't know them that well, I would probably stick with the more obvious things like grammar, only because I don't want to offend anyone. And when they say feedback, I don't know what they mean exactly. Are they looking just for the grammar, or are they looking for help with their plot or holes in their plot? And the last thing I want to be is offensive to anyone, and so I guess that's the method I stick to. It really depends on how well I know you and knowing what you expect from me.
Yeah, I agree. That could be a slippery slope because sometimes people say, "Oh, give me feedback," and then you do, and then it can be the wrong type that they're really not looking for that level. So, Kelly, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think Darlie hit it spot on. It really depends on whom you're giving the critique to. So in our critique group, we were pretty honest, and I have a couple friends that it's like, just rip it apart, get that red pen out or, red font out and go to town. And grammar is always huge. And people, I find on Wattpad, people say, I really don't want to offend you, but I noticed you put one time I put shutters like on a house instead of shuttered, like I'm scared. And someone's like, I really don't want you to be upset, but I just thought you might want to know. And it's like, I am so not upset. Like, thank you. I always appreciate people pointing something out like that. It's a big help. I want my manuscript to be, as on point as possible. And, it can kind of go two ways, because the other way I think about it too, some people might be a little bit more offended if someone were to make a comment, because a lot of times the work that we put up on Wattpad hasn't been professionally edited yet. So, I write and post as I go. So if there's an error, I always appreciate it. But maybe some people might take it a little bit more severely. So make sure you know who you are interacting with and critiquing, and to which level they would like your critique. And it's a very time-consuming thing as well. So I think if you're really going to go for it, I think commit all the way and have your critique group or your critique partner point out everything, spelling and grammar and story flow, and making sure the ideas make sense, because that's going to be less work in the future that an editor has to do and that you have to fix. So definitely. And then one thing that I used to be a teacher, and I used to teach little itty-bitty preschoolers, and one of the things that I always did was that I got from my friends was, when giving parent-teacher conference notes, nobody wants to hear like, oh my goodness, your child did something X, Y, and Z and it wasn't good. So always do, 2 compliments and then 1 area you can work on. So definitely add those critiques with comments like, ooh, I love this sentence, or, great vivid description here, or I loved how you used this term to describe this character. So throw in really positive comments as well, because just negative can hurt people's feelings.
I like to sandwich the critique in between the positives. Start
Kelly,
out on a good note.
or Rita, or Darlie.
Yes.
Yes, Nat? Are you there?
Hey, Nat.
I'm trying to be. Sorry, everybody. Like, this is really weird because it was kind of working and then it stopped working for some reason or another. Okay.
Rita's been handling it. She's
Yeah, I know. I had no worries about it whatsoever, because she's.
Yeah, well, you put me in charge.
Rita. She knows what she's doing. I do. We're actually like 5 minutes to the end. We are going to be delving more and more into the Waddies series, or the Waddies and the wards, and how to enter, and what you should do after entering, and how you should kind of go about it, and everything that has to do with it. We're going to touch base on next week. We are going to welcome a special guest. Her name is Marian Avalon, and we're going to be talking about Purple Prose. The episode is entitled "It's Not Easy Being Purple," and we're going to really, delve into that, hopefully. And Darlie, it has been so wonderful to have you on this broadcast. I hope that you had a wonderful time with it. Technical difficulties aside, they were all on our end. So,
yes. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed it.
And you are welcome back anytime you want to come back. And honestly, we can't do this without these amazing panelists that come on and give information. I mean, I do want to let everybody know that we have 25 episodes that we are going to hit. Then we are going to take a 2-week break, and then we'll come back with season 2 for you. We hope that you've been enjoying these episodes, and like I said, are taking away a lot from them. That being said, if you just want more Corner Booth for whatever reason, we are, in addition to the episodes that we have posted, we are also doing something on Wattpad called the Corner Booth Contest, and it is a nomination contest. You can get all of the information from our amazing page master, Lindsay Lippincott. She runs the Wattpad profile at the Corner Booth, and up at midnight tonight. So if you would like to enter somebody into that contest, give them a nice nomination, and they will tell you everything that you need to do on that story. I believe it's called Corner Booth Contest, I believe. But with that being said, ladies, we just finished our 21st episode, so woo, congratulations. But thank you so much, Wattpad Nation, for everything that you do for us, the support, the amazing chat that's going on right now, everything that you do. You're the reason why we come back every single Sunday. So, ladies, if you would please say good night.
Bye,
Good
guys.
night.
Good night. Thanks for watching.